Hey besties! Welcome back to Sip and Chat, where we spill the tea on life lessons.
Woo!
I'm Anna.
And I'm Teresa, and welcome to Sip and Chat's next episode.
We are talking about hard talks and strong love, which is conflicts and resolution in marriages.
As you can see, it's just us today. We don't have any guests, but stay tuned. We'll have some soon.
Yes. So, as you know, we've been on this little trend of talking about love and talking about, relationships and marriages and dating and all this fun stuff. But what also happens in each and one of our, marriages and relationships, it doesn't matter if it's a friendship, if it's a dating, season, or if it's a marriage season, but we all have conflicts. I mean, who don't have them? I feel like you even have work conflicts, family conflicts. So, conflict comes in every shape, size, and whatever you want to think of. Mm. But we need to normalize conflicts, because I feel like sometimes we have a bad, view of a conflict, which sometimes is not really a bad thing. If you think about it, conflict doesn't mean that your relationship is failing. Sometimes it points out that, hey, there might be this area where you might need a fix, or something's not right and it needs your, priority or your attention at the moment. I don't know if you ever had any conflicts that, kind of raised the flag for you to tell you, hey, my relationship's heading down, a way that it shouldn't, and we need to bring it back or something like that.
For sure. I think, there's stress with work and when I'm sitting home with the kids, I feel like sometimes we don't take that priority to connect on a deeper level, that I feel like sometimes because of that stress and that strain on your relationship that you don't take that initiative to invest in. I think that creates a lot of conflicts, because anything can tip you off, because you're just in the flow of life, rather than stopping and really connecting with your partner, or that friend or whatever, and it may be in the relationship, that you're not able to have a clear mind about it, because you're constantly blaming, you're shaming, or you're guilt tripping the person because they're acting a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that creates a lot of conflicts in a marriage. Especially in a marriage, because we are married. I think especially in a marriage, since you're always with that person, it's important to take that time apart to connect.
Okay. I know conflicts for me tend to be a growing season. I feel like when I'm going through a conflict, even in my marriage, it's a way of shaping us, because you're not the same after that conflict.
For sure.
The whole point of a conflict is to test and to really, get you to grow. If you do conflicts the right way.
Yeah. I was going to say, sometimes it can be self-induced, where you are constantly nagging or coming at that person the wrong way. Then that can make conflicts a negative thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I get where you're coming from, that sometimes they can make you grow. They're just there for a trying season to help you to be a better person, per se.
Yeah.
But
I'm if you do conflicts the right way, because there is a right way of doing conflicts and there is a wrong way of doing them. It's the way that you approach it, the way that you communicate, the way that you actually handle the whole situation. But when you do it the right way, it actually takes you from, one point to another, and it actually makes you grow. Not only does it make you grow with your partner, but you yourself change a way of being. And the majority of the time it's for the best, because at the end of the day, it has to benefit both, not just one side.
Yeah, it's true.
I also say healthy couples do argue. I love to think that we live in a world that, when you're married, you never will argue. When you're dating, you're never going to argue.
Everything's butterflies and sunshine.
But realistically speaking, we are human beings. we have our own desires, our own dreams, our own perspective. I know I always talk about perspective, but it is really important that people understand that not everybody thinks a lot like you or sees and read things a lot like you.
Yeah.
And when we have that, you're going to have, a different perspective or a different, outlook on the situation or on the conflict. You might want to resolve it one way and the other person might want to resolve, something else. You might want something and the other person doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that just because you argue, it doesn't mean that you are a toxic relationship. I feel like arguments naturally come in a relationship, and they have to be there to, actually get to the actual problem. Because sometimes when couples don't argue, and instead of arguing, they just kind of bottle things inside, all it does is leave space for them to get angry and hold resentment and build until everything finally explodes. And then instead of having a problem where you can find a solution, it's like, you know what, we're done. I can't do anything. When there should have been a solution if you would have solved step one instead of letting step one turn into step 65.
Yeah. Whenever an argument happens, I think oftentimes in those moments, it's like trying for your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the times I feel like you're wanting to solve things the wrong way instead of like pointing fingers or like name calling or like you always do this, or like I'm not talking about bad words, but I'm like you name call, like you always like you're this and you're that, because you don't like. I feel like my husband and I are past that, but I think that it did happen at one point where we were always like telling each other, like, we're always bumping heads. Maybe we shouldn't like continue this way or stuff like that. Like, I think those moments that you knew that you got through help you to be able to become a better person in that relationship. With that being said, arguments are important.
Mm-hmm.
They're important, but not to get your point across in a negative way. Instead, have those arguments so that you can see where that person really is standing in their heart, in their mind, in their soul, so that you guys can see eye to eye and be able to meet in the middle about things that you're not connecting with.
Yeah. It's better to air out the emotions then and there than letting them build up and then,
Exploding.
Yeah, because we spiral, like, I mean, you can only take but so much.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a tolerance. And like, I feel like at one point in a relationship, maybe early dating stages, you're like, yeah, it's fine. Like, it's just one time.
Mm-hmm.
Then it happens again and again and again. And then you don't talk about it until it feeds your ego or your pride, and you're just like you're going off on this person, and they don't know they're doing wrong until you have a conversation with them and you're like, I don't like when you do this or that, or like they don't know that you're feeling a type of way, but oftentimes we use, that I'm in a certain type of mood now, you shouldn't be doing that, but they don't know that. Like,
it's like Hugo says, I can't read minds.
Yeah.
Like, you have to tell me what is wrong because I cannot read your mind. And I mean, that used to annoy me all the time because I would be like, you should know what I want and what I need. But I understand that, yes, it is very true. You cannot read someone's mind. You have to communicate that. And I mean, at the end of the day, I always say it takes a strong person to communicate that won't. And I feel like that's why sometimes we struggle to actually go into a conflict, because some of us have a really hard time stating the needs that we want. Because conflicts, they actually bring attention to the needs in your life. Like sometimes, for instance, I remember at the beginning of our marriage, one of my biggest problems was time. Like, I wanted time. And he didn't understand that, but I did not help him understand that either by, just staying quiet and ignoring him and just, playing the silent game, to see who would win, you get me? But
being petty.
Yeah,
the petty arguments never win. Because at the end, it just creates more stress in your relationship.
Yes.
And I feel like Gustavo and I used to be petty, but when we're dating. Like, I feel like in marriage, we can have petty moments, but then we just bust out laughing because we're being petty and we're like, bruh, why are we being like this? Like, it's a quick realization. And I think the turnaround from an argument, whenever you have a humble, like, you know that you're being wrong, like, that's whenever it turns around quick. But whenever you continue a petty thing where you don't talk for a day or two, I think that kind of, like, he's very petty. My husband is like, he used to be a very, not now, but he used to be a very petty person where I was like, I can't even stand to talk to you because I can't talk to you about anything because you're going to turn it around and make it about you whenever I'm telling you how I feel. And I just don't like that. But, now we're like, dang, like, why are we acting this way? We just look at each other and we're like, just start laughing. We're just like, why? Like, it's not necessary to act petty or be egoistical about things that don't even make sense. Like, you can, I don't know about you, but like sometimes I've had conversations with my husband where I'm like, that is not where you put this, or this is not where you put that, and I make it a big deal, and it's not really a big deal.
Not, but
like,
it is.
I can move it, but if I came at it the right way, and I'm like, hey, this is where I prefer things to be because of this, and that. Now he has a better understanding because I came at him with love, rather than just charging at him because he's doing something that he doesn't know.
It's the action behind it.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, that is true. I feel like even with Hugo, like, once I actually, once I started my little pettiness, of not wanting to talk, and I finally told him, I don't like that you don't spend time with me. Like, I don't understand, what's wrong. And until I told him how I actually felt about things and how it made me feel, I feel like it took him to see that, to understand that, okay, I get what you're saying now. Like, it's not, it's just you throwing a berrinche. There we go. Like, it's you, actually, you have an emotion feeling there, and you need something to kind of like.
And it goes back to love languages. That's how you feel loved. If you don't spend time with me, then I feel like you're rejecting me. Kind of like you said, whenever at the beginning, whenever y'all are dating, like, you're never home. Like, he told you you're never home. And I think that's very important to establish early on so that you know how that person feels loved. And then that avoids a lot of conflicts, because I think that there's needs that, like, talking about dating, like, there's sexual needs that one person needs more than the other, or there's like organization needs. Like me, I cannot stand a disorganized house. Like, I'm just like, what is going on here? I said disorganized, I mean unorganized. But you get the point. Like, and then I really care about him spending time with the kids and me. Like, I really care about that. So I'm like, yeah, if I do care about that above the house being clean. Like, I'd rather, like, us spend time together, be out, or like be in the sala just playing with each other, or playing together, than to have the house clean. But like, I feel like if you do express that clearly, then they're able to know. Like, even if you tell me, like, this is what I expect of you as a friend, or even like if my husband comes to me and is like, I expect this and this and this, I'm like, okay, well, let me be better at that.
Yeah, I mean, it even goes right into your intimacy. Like, there are, like you said, there are sexual needs that need to be met by a certain, person. And because I feel like that's one of the taboos that we have a lot growing up. I know that's one thing that we were taught, you don't talk about, you don't talk about, you don't talk about.
Yeah.
And for me, that was one issue, because I was always taught I don't talk about, I didn't want to say anything. And when like a conversation started about it, I'm like, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah. Like, just like, that's weird.
Like, no, we don't talk about that. But in reality, like, no, like, it is things you have to talk about, because maybe there's something that he's trying to let you know, hey, like, I don't like this, or, why don't we try something else, or something like, along that line. And sometimes also communicating that need can also, find yourself, actually exploring new stuff and actually enjoying things with your other person. Because I feel like sometimes, and having conversations with, friends and everything like that, we talk about certain, especially in our intimacy life, like, we talk about things, and they'll come up and they're like, "Hey, how do you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't really know all that." Like,
I
like,
just
what do you
feel like,
mean?
well, I can say this because I don't like to get into that conversation deeply.
Yes.
Like I don't want to tell you exactly, but
Yes.
but what I do expect is you, like, how do I say? I cannot just go and do the act. I need anticipation. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I can't just go and like, here I am.
Yeah, like
I feel
no.
like I need anticipation, and it's just like I can't just, yeah.
Like I'm not a robot. We can't just
Yeah.
do this. Like
Right, like especially if there is argument or there's like a tension between us, that doesn't allow it to flow. But
mhm.
what I will say about it is that it is important to schedule sexual intercourse days where you do have that intimate day where you have with your partner, that
Mhm.
you schedule it and you're like, this is the day that we have to, like, I don't know how many days you guys decide, but like the days, having those scheduled days make it more, how do I say it, scheduled, or it makes it where you know that you set it apart that day. Like
Yeah.
it's special.
Like it's for that. It's what we
Yeah.
want
Like
to, achieve and want to come to do and, kind of thing. Yeah.
like that's how I want to be able to connect with you. But I need those texts where you tell me like stuff that I feel good about. Like
Yeah.
I need to feel that to be able to have
Yes.
that sex. I don't know. That's just
I need
me.
that warm up. There we go. I need that warm
Yeah.
up.
Like I can't just get in there like. Maybe
Like this is
when,
not
like, at the
work.
beginning of marriage, when I didn't have kids.
Girl, I couldn't even, I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't even then because honestly, I was, like I said, I feel like because it was such a taboo and it was just something we didn't talk about. It wasn't something my mom, informed me about. I wish I would have been really informed and understood how everything worked out and everything because I feel like I wouldn't have been as scared.
Yeah.
And I feel like to me, that's what it was always like. I was always scared. I was always scared and I was always scared. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't feel good about this, And it was always that afterthought, like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like kind
Yeah.
of thing. And it always felt like shame more than anything. And it wasn't. Like it really wasn't.
But you're married.
Yeah.
Like it's not a big deal. Like we went through that. Well, we were like, this feels weird. Like we know that this is part of marriage, but like I was like, I feel like people are looking at me, judging me.
Yes.
Like because I was newly
Gosh.
married and I was like, yeah, I don't know that I like this.
Yeah, and until like I know, especially when I talked to some of my friends that we were talking about, I said honestly, it took until Hugo one day was like, "Well, you got to know, like I got to know what you like, and you got to know what I like. If not, it's not going to work. Like it's always going to be the same thing." And I kind of just stood there because in that moment I felt like I was like, no, I don't want to talk about this. Like this is gross. Like
Yeah, but you do have to know like
yes,
how to meet the needs of your partner.
yes.
But I don't know, like it's just,
And that's it's just one of them conflicts that I feel like especially like in that newlywed stage, you really get to.
yeah.
And once you communicate and you actually take that communication, actually talk about it, and actually get down to
I
it,
don't
you
know.
actually learned a lot about your other half.
Yeah.
Like you really do. That's one of the things that I mostly tell my friends. I'm like, well, just tell them. Like I feel like if you communicate it, and actually, I'm like, don't do it while you're watching a movie, and don't do it whenever like it's out of the random. Like no, actually like sit down in a moment where y'all just spending the two of you, and actually be like, hey, I want to talk about something.
Yeah. I feel like one of the conflicts that I feel like it's current in my marriage is like not being able to turn off that switch of social media and like being on our phone. I feel like that's common in a lot of marriages, but I feel like like especially my husband, when he comes home, he's tired and I've had the kids all day, so we're tired, and so we kind of just have a time where we're decompressing, but that's on our phone. Like I feel like decompressing, yes, let's talk about something that matters to us, or tell me about your day so that you can get that out of your mind, so you're not constantly having that overload in your mind. But I feel like we're still trying to overcome that. But I feel like other than that, the conflicts come from misunderstandings. Like
Yeah.
it just comes from misunderstandings where you don't know how to express yourself in the clearest way so your partner understands. But I think as you mature, those conflicts seem to subside. Like they
Yeah.
just go to one side, and you're like, you know, we're grown adults.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this like grown adults. We're not kids. We're here to understand each other, respect each other, love each other, be there through thick and thin, like sickness and health. We made those vows, so let's fix this.
Yeah, let's do it like what we're supposed to. And I mean, conflict isn't an enemy. It's, it's when we try to weaponize it and actually let that disconnection happen. Because when we do have conflict, we tend to disconnect with one another.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you weaponize it, the disconnection becomes even deeper and deeper and deeper. So we have to learn that conflict isn't a bad thing. I feel like people always, try to make it seem like, oh, if you're arguing, then your marriage isn't right. Like, no. I'm not saying that you need to be arguing, the 24 hours a day. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, then we might need to like take a step back and be like, okay, y'all.
We need counseling at that point.
But I feel like it's not a bad thing. It's just a natural thing that's going to happen because, we have different ways of, want to express ourselves, and not everybody agrees to it. And it might take your partner a little bit to understand, oh, she didn't mean it that way, or he didn't mean it that way. This is what, they were really trying to, communicate.
And it just comes off a little harsh.
Yeah.
But I think that comes with maturity.
Yeah.
For you to let down your pride and your ego and know that it's not about you. Like, it's not about you. It's about you, like both of you.
It's the marriage.
Like where both of you both need needs that need to be met, and have needs that need to be met. And I think it's important to let pride and ego to a side whenever it comes to marriage, which is very hard. Very hard.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while. It takes everything in you. And I think that when you're just thinking about yourself, I feel like those things do come up a lot more, like the arguments. But when you think about your other person, like, I think it's important, like we have mentioned with friendships, and in past episodes, that you had to have an understanding of where that person's coming from, or like you said, they may not mean it the way that they came off. But if you step back, like not have every, how does it say, every action doesn't have to have a reaction. And so whenever a person acts a certain way, so if you come at me a little harsh, sometimes I may just like sit there and think about what you're saying. Like, Gustavo can come off a little hard with me, and I'm like, yeah, like, I'm not going to even entertain that. Like, I'm not going to entertain that, because I learned for the longest when we were dating that if I entertain it, your pettiness wins, your ego and your pride wins. And same for me. Like, you cannot tell me nothing when I was younger. But like now you tell me something harsh and I'm like, I'm gonna meditate on that. Maybe I am the problem, or like
it's reflection.
Think about it. Yeah. Like we're gonna see where this is actually heading, because maybe I did something that tipped you off, like, or maybe I did something that you took one way and I meant a totally another way. And I think with the stress of the day or things that go on work, whatnot, those things can press on your relationship. And that's important to take consideration of it.
Yeah. And I know there are, common sources of conflict that we can have. I know one of the biggest one that I've seen in most marriages, even in mine, has been finances. I feel like finances is one of them conflicts that really hit hard in most marriages, because you're so used to just having to manage your own things that when you get married, it's like, no, like, we're one person. Our finances, have to, be okay. We can't be in debt. We can't be, doing this and that. I know for us, it was one of them big, conflicts that we did have at the beginning of our marriage, because for me, I mean, I take care of me, like I work, I make my own money, I do whatever. And the same thing with him. But with him, what I would try to make him understand would be like, hey, we're getting two sources of income. Like, we can combine this, and I can help you with half the payments, and you can do the other half, so it's not that hard on you. And for him, it was not that way. His mindset was like, no, I have to cover this. I have to meet these goals. Da 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 da. And I would be like, but
a culture
yeah,
thing. Like,
I'm like, but you're
that's what you were
stressing,
taught.
babe. You're drowning, babe. Like, I'm trying to help you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. I always tell him, I'm like, it's not something to look down upon. I'm like, whenever you can, you will. But in the moment while you're stressing and drowning, I'm not gonna just sit there and watch you, drown. Like, honey,
Like you do it.
yeah, like no. But it took a little bit for us to understand, and then for him to make me understand, spending, because I know spending is one of my biggest issues. He's like, you have to learn how to save. I think my spending issues came down a little bit down the line once I started to feel a lot more secure. And I still remember, like, one of the conflicts that we had, he was telling me one day, he was like, you have to understand that if something happens the day of tomorrow, I need to know that you are going to be okay. That you have some kind of savings, that you don't totally depend on, whatever I'm doing. And it would like just annoy me when he would say that. But then, thinking further into
you have your way of thinking. Like,
I'm like, I have a job. Like, what? But, once I started reflecting and realizing, I was like, no, he is right. Like, if something does happen, what am I going to do? Like, I just cannot have nothing, like, what's going on? Like, you used to be really good at saving. What's going on, girl? So, I'm getting back into that, habit of, okay, financially, you have to think about, that you have to save, because you never know what a rainy day will be like tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
But
I think, for me, in our marriage, we were so smart because we heard so many preachings. Like, we heard, like, we had so much counsel. We had so many people, like, when we joined Amway, we had so many mentors that taught us about stewardship of finances, where we did have to, that's where we learned how to break down our money. Like, break it down into bills, into having like all those spendings in the account, so that you're knowing where every penny is going. And I feel like that really opened up our eyes. So when we got married, we were both working at the time. I worked up until I had my boys, and we saved up a pretty good amount of money, and that's how we're able to get the house, the car. So I feel like the conflicts are starting now, where, like, at the beginning we were so smart with our money, and we still are. We still budget. We know where every penny is going. The only difference is that we're having to pay everything for our kids.
Yeah.
Which they're almost one, so we're getting out of the formula. Woo.
That's big. That is big.
So yeah, that helps us cut down probably our expenses on food in half, like literally in half. And so that's going to help us a lot to start saving and getting our emergency fund up and whatnot. But I think it's limited what we can do, like especially when we want to go out with like friends, or we want to just do whatever. It's limited, those things. But I feel like in the long run, it will help us out.
Yeah.
Because we are able to save amount, but not the amount we want to save. But I think the conflicts are not necessarily we have a conflict, but we're just getting smarter with our money now because it is tighter, since we do have one income.
Yeah, and I feel like, it's just different conflicts you have. Like, you have conflicts, in your parenting, phase, because each phase of your marriage brings different conflicts.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And one of the main conflicts as well that I've always heard about has been when you have children. Like, it's a different way, because you were brought up on a way of how you saw your parents raise their kids, and other person was brought up on that.
We dated too long to, like, we know how we want to raise our kids. I think we're on the same page about that. Now, he does get mad when I do say stuff about how certain people, like, parent. I'm like, that's not good. But I tell him that so he knows how I want my kids to be. Because, like, sometimes he can spoil his siblings with love and with things. And I'm like, yeah, no, that you cannot just reward bad behavior.
Yes.
And I'm just like, you can't do that, because you allow them to think that it's okay. And they're just going to do it again because they got attention now. Now they're going to try to do it again, so that we'll see if we get good behavior,
Yeah.
good rewards this time.
Yeah, I feel like there's conflicts in almost every aspect of life.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm like, dang, I didn't know how much, because conflicts come and go. It doesn't matter in what area of your life it is. It could honestly be in your workspace. Like, there's conflicts there. Could be in your friendships. There's conflicts there. Even in between family. Like, it is everywhere. No matter where you go. But I feel like it's how people fight also. Because you can choose to fight in a very civil way, where I'm going to hear you out, we're going to sit out, and we're going to air out what's wrong, and we're going to come to a solution.
Not everybody has that mindset.
Yeah. And then you can fight where some people like can be mean, some people can be very offensive. Some people can actually be physical too.
Yeah.
And I see that, and sometimes like it does sadden me, because I do know that there was, an era of my life where I could have been very offensive, and I'm like, dang, looking back at it, because sometimes like I do like think about things that I did when I was younger, and I'm like, dang girl, like you could have handled that way differently, and the outcome could have been a whole lot better. But
like
no,
the hormones we have.
Yeah, but like now, like you said, as we mature, we start to, think about different things. We start, doing things differently. We start looking at, when we're handling conflicts, okay, the best way to resolve this is if we communicate in a very civilized, polite manner. Like, we don't have to be rude to get a point across.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes taking that time apart is very important. Like kind of like what we're talking about in distance in friendships. I think it's important to have distance in a relationship sometimes. For example, whenever Gustavo goes to work at the office, sometimes I'm like, dang, like I wish he was here to help me out with the boys. But I know that he has to provide for our family. When he's working from home, the conflict is, you're coming in here breaking my workflow, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but like I want to like ask you something, or like, but I'm understanding of it, because I'm like, yeah, I know you had to get your things done too, like, but then I'm like, no, but you're here and I want to talk to you, I want to be with you, but I sometimes ask a little too much. I have realized. I admit, like I sometimes do be like screaming at him. I'm like Chavo, because we call him Chavo because his little sister calls him Chavo, and that nickname just stuck. Like either I'll call him Chavo, or like pet names like Baby or like Honey or something like that. But I say, Chavo, come here and help me with this. He's like, I'm working, and I'm like, okay. Whatever, like don't help me then.
Yeah, no.
But I understand. But at the moment, I'm like, but you don't want to help me. Like I'm in a stressful moment right now.
I know. I told Hugo that when he's home, I like it. But then again, I'm like, I need my
after
space.
A while. Yeah, it's like
when are you going back to work? Like I really have. I have told you, I think in the last, because of these snow days, when are you going back to work? Like, I expect to come home for work and decompress for an hour and two, get whatever I need to be, done. Not coming home and getting asked questions and what are we going to eat? And I'm like, that was not even on my mind yet. Like, excuse you. But it's funny.
I was getting there.
But no, I do feel like with him, I have learned that what best works for us when it comes to resolving conflict is we have to kind of walk away from each other. When a conflict arises, we have to walk away from each other, because I feel like he's more level-headed, but I'm not. I tend to, whenever there's a problem, it's like something that like it just like it pierces like right through me, and I have feelings about it, and I have my problem is I have all these emotions mixed up in one, and I can't understand, what's going on. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't even know why I'm mad anymore. Like, it's just that, like, so I need that time, and he's realized that I'm the type of person that I have to walk away, and then after an hour or so, once I'm starting to be calm, like we have to come together and be like, okay, this is the problem. What's wrong? Why are you acting this way and kind of stuff, and then
how we're gonna resolve.
Yeah. And that's just one way that we've learned that we have to resolve our conflicts. Because it used to be when we did have a conflict, it was yelling back and forth. Like it was like he would get loud, I would get loud, and it was like a yelling context at one point. And what were we getting out of it? Nothing.
Just a lot of blaming, right?
Yes, there's a lot of pointing fingers, but you, and then it's just like, okay, but what was the problem again?
Like, we're not working together on the problem. We're just like going against each other. It's like como dice el dicho, like you're not fighting the person, you're fighting the demons behind it. And I'm like, wow, like it's so true. Yeah. But I feel like in that aspect for Gustavo and I feel like I'm the more, like you say, level-headed person where I'm just like, what are you even talking about? Like, can you elaborate on what you're saying? And let's talk this through because I don't understand where you're coming from. And he's like talking all this nonsense. And I'm like, look, this is not working. Let's talk about this later. And sometimes I'm the person that I need you to tell me exactly what you meant by what you said. Mm-hmm. And talk things through. I can't just leave things just how they are and act like nothing happened. Yeah. Like I need things to be talked through. And I'm like, we have to, there's point A to point B to point C, but we got to get there. Mm-hmm. Because if not, then there's like untold grudges and resentment that can build up, and then you just explode on that person. Yeah. So I feel like I'm that type of person where I'm like, yeah, like I know that you're mad, but we need to talk about this. Yeah. We need to talk about this because if not, it can become a bigger issue, and down the road, we're just gonna bring this back up. Yeah. But I think it was very crucial in the 8 years that we dated. That we learned a lot of those things in there. Yeah. And when we got to marriage and we actually have a house together, we're like, we already knew how we wanted to be towards each other, respect one another, like, try not to name call, but we sometimes like can label ourselves as such and such. For example, like, oh, you always do this and or you always do that. But like, we try not to do that. Yeah. I mean, I feel like in conflicts, we learn what not to do. Oh, yeah. Because there's a lot of things that we do not do in conflicts. One of them is yelling. Victim mentality. I feel like some of us can also fall into that because our ego gets so bruised that we're like, oh my gosh, I'm the victim. I'm the one that's hurt, You always do this to me. But I think that stems, like, I feel like we categorize it as victim mentality, but I think that stems from that person not acknowledging how you feel, or not knowing your love language and how you feel loved, or not hearing you all the way through. And I think they always try, or people can be like, oh, you're always the victim in this, and you never do anything wrong. But a lot of the times I act out because you did a certain thing. Yeah. And you continue to do that certain thing, but you're not acknowledging that you continue to do that. That makes me act this way. And that can be categorized as a victim mindset. But if that person doesn't want to change in that, then I'm going to continue acting out this way because you're not understanding. There's not an understanding there. Yeah. And then there's the famous, do you remember when you did this? Or do you remember like bringing up the old problem? Oh my God. That was a lot in dating. It's like, okay, I thought we said we resolved this, but clearly we did it. What I can't stand either is like, whenever you're talking about something and you're trying to understand that other person and they're like, but you always do this and that, but they feel like you're coming at them. Yeah. Does that make sense? No, like I'm not attacking you. I'm trying to understand you. Like, yes. Like I don't like that because I'm like, if we don't communicate about this, we're never going to get through this. Yes. I also feel like confiding in the wrong person because I feel like sometimes there's conflicts that you take out and you might discuss it with someone, but we also need to be careful who we discuss, because you can't go and discuss a problem or a conflict with someone that's not ever been in your shoes whatsoever.
Like, I can't go to someone who is barely 16 and tell them, this happened in my marriage, da 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 da. What do you think?
Well, just leave them.
Yeah, because that is
That's
what
their
you get.
mentality,
Like,
yeah, a lot of the time.
I feel like sometimes we go to certain people because there's certain things that we want to hear because we don't want to hear everything else but behind it. I also feel like we have to be, like, wise. And if we ever do go to an outside source, it needs to be someone that we can, like, actually be like, okay, you've already been here and I really do confide and I've seen the way that, you work or the way that you do things. And there's, some credibility, to how you are. So I'm gonna confide and, tell you like, hey, I need help because we're not coming to a solution and I don't know how else to handle this. Because I do understand that sometimes it does take an outside help to help you. Because some people see things a little bit different or have walked down a pathway that they can be like, hey, it might be because you're approaching it this way. Maybe you need to approach it a different way to get a different kind of, outcome out of it.
I feel like for Gustavo and I, we confide in the Lord because I feel like you can't really trust people like who would want to. Like you think that you could trust, but then you hear things that person said to someone else. So I think what we do is we oftentimes listen and hear what other people are going through. And we're like, okay, well, we don't want to go through that. So how did you get through that? So I think we just learn from experiences from others more than like trying to ask someone for help, because I think it's important to get through situations on your own. And I feel like we learn a lot from like the preachings we hear at church, or like even when we're talking about it, really.
Yeah.
Whenever we talk about it, I feel like
Yeah.
we can resolve it 95% of the time. But if it is a bigger issue, like I was telling you last time, cheating is something I don't tolerate. But I think I would need an outside source for that one to really know how to navigate that one.
Yeah.
But
Which I feel like how much you want to open up and how much you don't. Because I know, like, for me and Hugo, we really don't talk about a lot of things to anyone. Like, we're very reserved to each other. But in the little times that I have, like, when I have reached out to someone, it was because it was something that was really, like, it was just not functioning. And I did not understand, how to go about it anymore. I feel like we came to a point where no matter how we talked about it, no matter how we presented it, it was like
always a problem.
Yeah, and it was like it was really draining. It was really, like something that we were just kind of like at a point where we were like, we're done. Like we're just done. And I think it took for me, because honestly, I still remember it took a lot coming out of me to really actually ask for help. And I still remember that I sat there and prayed and I was like, God, give me the strength to ask, because I don't know what else to say anymore. Like, like I was just like, I think it was that shame kind of like feeling, because you felt like your marriage was a failure because y'all had a problem.
Yeah.
And I remember the person that I did confide in at the moment, I mean, she knows who she is and I love her to death and I always will. She really did help me through a lot of things. And I still remember her telling me, she said, yes, you need to pray. She was like, but she said, I'm going to give you the advice that I should have taken whenever I was in your shoes. And she said, you can take it. You can use it if you want. And if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. She said, but I still remember her, like, she kind of walked through it with me. She kind of, also made me assess. She's like, you as a person also need to realize that you're not free of any guilt either. Like, it takes two to tango. It don't just take one. And it really kind of made me kind of sit there and actually reflect. I really did help me. I really do think that she did help me a lot with the part of reflection of life. Because a lot of times when you're young, you don't tend to reflect really well. You just tend to, be in the present moment and that's it. Nothing else matters. But I do feel like she kind of helped me recollect myself and actually reflected and actually helped me approach the problem the way that I needed to. And it really did make a difference in our marriage and the way that it walked. And to this day, I always tell people, I'm like, I will always be thankful for her, because that's one of the people that we just like, but it took a lot from me, and it wasn't just a random person. Like, it really took me to really see who that person was, and it took me a while to kind of like, God, please, like, don't let it be someone that, that I've really messed up. Like, I really, like, I need help and I don't know what to do, like, kind of thing. And it was like, once it led me there, everything kind of leads you to that point, and you're like, okay. But I'm not going to say that we do like share everything that we go through, because we are very reserved about ourselves. We always talk about our problems stay in our home and in our home only. We don't mind.
Which is healthy.
I'm like, we don't mind being an open book, but we do talk about like, what do we want to be open about and what we're not going to open about completely. Because we've had it where people will ask us things, and it's like, sometimes I just kind of look at him, which me and him at this point, we kind of can look at each other and know, like,
yeah, don't say nothing.
Yeah, or okay, we can speak on like even when we're home, we're like, if this ever gets asked, this is what you can share about it, but you cannot share this part about it or something like that. And it's not because we want to hide something, but because we know that it leaves us in a very vulnerable position, and we don't ever want someone to
like
come
you're exposed.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you have conflicts and you tell someone else, I feel like sometimes they can get in the way of your relationship because they know that there's problems going on. And I don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like I will not allow that
For someone to
happen.
butt in. Yeah.
And so now if it does happen, then at that point, because I haven't been in that situation, I think wouldn't know what to do. And I probably would have to ask.
I know I've had that, but it wasn't even something that we shared with anybody. It was just that I guess they did not like the way that we did things. Mm-hmm. And they would always have like, how they'll have like little comments here and there. And I still remember one day looking over and being like, do you pay my bills? I didn't think so. I said, so you get no say in how we are going to do things. Mm. And I know that in the moment it came off like, like, dang, what's wrong with her? But then again, I was like, I feel like once you keep on and keep on and keep on, and you could see it, like, because you can read my face pretty well when I'm starting to feel very uncomfortable about things. And then when you hear it, I'm be like, okay, yeah, like you can tell that awkwardness. And I feel like as a person, when you're overstepping as well, like, that moment, I still remember I was kind of like, okay, that's it. Like, we're done. Like, we are done. This is it. I'm not crossing this line no more.
Right. And I think it's important to, now if it's something deep, I think it's important to take care of your partner, take care of your relationship. Some things don't need to be said, but I think a lot of the things do serve as a testimony.
Yeah.
Especially if somebody's going through the same thing, then you're able to talk about it. I feel like oftentimes people can, on the outside, judge a relationship based off what they see and not really what they know. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important to also not judge. You don't know what's going on really beneath everything buried within their hearts or even what's going on in their house.
And also, I feel like don't ever let someone use your testimony as a way of shaming you.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like that's one conflict that we do get in marriage as well, because some people do expose themselves a little bit out there more than others, and people tend to like, oh, well, if you did that then and then you start feeling, you start taking on an identity that really isn't yours. It's because someone else is giving it to you.
And I feel like sometimes younger people can use your testimony to give them a passageway to do things that you did.
Like, no, I'm like,
I'm telling you, because you don't need to go through that.
Like, this is not a, get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
This is just advice. Like, this could go very wrong, and not everyone's, like, what's it called?
They don't see the red flags.
Yeah, and I'm like, not everyone's conclusion of their story ends the same. Okay, we could have done the same thing, but you can end up really bad. Like, I'm just saying, don't do what you're not supposed to be doing.
I feel like that has to do with how you saw relationships growing up. And that molds you into the person that you are growing up. And I think that's why some young people, like I was gonna say women, but it happens in men too, that they flip flop from relationship to relationship to relationship because that's what they saw growing up, or they don't have an identity. Like I was telling you earlier, like, or one of these episodes, like I was never single. I was only single for like 6, maybe like 9 months in like middle school. Yeah, in high school, like between middle school and high school. I didn't have no boyfriend in elementary school. I started dating in middle school, but
I feel like elementary just don't count. They were just your best friend.
Well, like
I'm sorry, they were just your best friend.
Boys had cooties in elementary school for me.
I feel like when I thought of boyfriend when I was younger, honestly, even in my middle school and some of my high school years, I honestly saw you as a best friend.
Yeah.
Like I did not really see you as a boyfriend.
That's basically what my relationships were.
I feel like that's why mine didn't last because honestly, I feel bad now like thinking back to it. I'm like, dang, I do feel bad for you because I was really awkward.
I did have a lot of relationships. I feel like those don't really count. Like those middle school ones, I only had for like maybe a month, maybe like less than
Girl,
that.
I only had like a week or two, and then I was like, oh, okay.
And then I did have one long relationship for 3 years before I met Gustavo, and that's where I like was single for like only 6 months, and I was like, dang, like. Did I not see my worth at that point? But I did because the one I had for 3 years cheated on me. So I was like, this ain't gonna work out. Like I do know my worth, but at the same time, like it did hurt because you did have a friend that you really cared about, but then you're like now I think about it, I'm like, it had to happen because at that point I could have gone down a wrong direction, and I don't know what could have been of my life. And now through Gustavo I was able to find the Lord, and I feel like that was meant to be because I was like, man, if I wouldn't have ended that relationship at the moment that I did, then what could have been of me if I wouldn't, like, I honestly never ever like had another like person that I was talking to when I had a boyfriend, like never cheated per se. So I feel like it would be weird that I talked to someone else and they introduced me to God. So I feel like I would have been more closed off about receiving God if Gustavo would have still pursued to like help me to find God, because that was his only intention at that point. And as our life went on, we just grew closer and closer. Like he was like a best friend, and then we started dating, and then like we started going to the same. That scared me a little bit. Sorry, the fridge went off and that scared me. But yeah, what was I saying?
You started going to the same.
Oh, we started going to the same church, and we started like, I started going to classes, and I was like, man, like this is like, I'm glad he introduced me to Christ, because now I'm free from many things that I went through growing up. I had a lot of healing to do. I had a lot of things that had to be taken out of me, generational curses that had to be broken. I think that's a conflict many times in relationships, where you carry a lot of generational curses that come upon your life, that you act a certain way because of what you saw or what generations past that you don't even know that they did, but can pass to you. And so canceling those things help you to become a better person for your marriage. And I think a lot of people don't want to let those things go, or don't know how to let those things go.
Now, we talked about, conflicts and things that we don't do, but some of the tools that we can use to work through conflicts, one, and the biggest one, is go to God.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you put God in the center of everything, and it gets you through everything. And I am telling you, from my personal standpoint of view, that if me and my husband wouldn't have really strive to have God in our life, our marriage would not have lasted. If we honestly would have walked away completely from God when we did at one point, and just been like, you know what, this is done, and not had, someone who kept, driving us through and kept pulling us back, and, and even inside of us knowing that we were always missing that one thing, and, afterwards making that decision, like, dang, we can't just, walk away, completely from God. If we really wouldn't have let God be the center of our marriage and let him, decide upon, how we were going to do things, our marriage would not have made it.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of things that came up, and looking back at it, right, like, as I do sometimes, I'm like, dang, in all honesty, if we wouldn't have been going to church, if we really wouldn't have had like communication with God, if we really wouldn't had, had all these things, I would have left you. Like, in all honesty, like, I'm like, my first thought would have been, I'm walking out this door, like, I'm done.
It.
Because as humans, we have to understand that we can't do everything on our own. We need God. And God, he's like, I'm here. I just need you to, say, I need you. I need you to tell me, what you want, but I'm here. I'm just waiting on you to come to me.
Yeah.
Another tool that we can use, while resolving conflicts can be, as she said, observing and learning from, the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Do not, take people's testimonies in vain. Like, do not take their advice in vain either, because a lot of the things that they talk about, it's because the things that they have gone through. Learn from them, talk about it and be like, how did you get, from this point to this point? Some people might, tell you in detail, some people might not, but it is a good learning source for you and your marriage to be able to be like, okay, like she said, we don't want to go through that. So what was the root of this?
Yeah, like, tell me.
Yeah, because we want to make sure that we don't have to walk those same footsteps. Because I tell, like, I know most people that I've been around with, especially for people that have, recently starting to get married and stuff. One of the biggest things that they ever hear from me, I always tell them, I'm like, as much as you say that, oh my God, your marriage is not perfect, you lasted so long, I'm like, no, like, this marriage is not what you want. I said, you want better. Like, you deserve better, because only I and my husband know the things that we have gone through, and we know that the grass has not been green on this side. We know that it's been dark, and we know that it's been hard. But I'm telling you that you don't want this. Don't desire, someone else's marriage.
You don't know. I feel like a lot of the times social media is a mask for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And they post what they want to be seen, that they're this power couple, or that they have it all together. But little do they know the arguments that they really go
Yeah.
through, or have the conflicts they have behind closed doors. Because not everyone's going to be, don't get me wrong. I see some Facebook posts where it's like, this and this and this happened to me. What do y'all think? Like, who cares? Like, nobody should be in your relationship. But then there's this masked relationships that are on social media that are not really the way that they portray themselves.
I mean, people walk with appearances, whether you like it or not. Me and my husband, we could have had an argument in the car, and when we get out, we're going to smile at each other, and we're going to put a pin in it and be like, we'll get back to this, but right now we're going to go do what we need to, and that's it.
Hard. That's really hard. Whenever, like, I'm mad, you can see it all over my face.
No, I feel like for me, it took time to kind of work on that. But because me and Hugo, we always talk, because he always tells me, he's like, people do not have to know that we are arguing.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I understand that we might be mad, but we need to take a deep breath. We'll handle this, but right now we got to go take care of this, because we said we were going to be here for this. And I've gotten good at that, like, okay, we'll handle this whenever we get home, And that's the thing that I tell people, like, no, you don't want to desire someone else's marriage. What I want for you is to have a great marriage. You want to desire a marriage in God.
Yeah.
Because that's the only marriage that you're going to want. If you really want a marriage to work, desire a marriage with God.
For sure. I think that's the most important thing, is to have God in the center. Because oftentimes we have our hearts can be deceiving, as the word says, and we try to take things the way that we want to take things, and we don't put God into account. But when you have God there, you know that He's the one that pulls you through. Like if you are going through a hard time, you have a conflict, God can get you through that situation. And just having that trust in Him, that confidence in Him, it just makes things lighter. And whenever you have a heart that is humble, or not humble, that bows down to the presence of God, your soul follows, and your soul doesn't take things that to heart, and like it doesn't pierce through whenever things are taken lightly, per se, I should say. Because a lot of the times your soul gets filled with a lot of things whenever you are of this world and you talk like this world. Then that's whenever your soul gets pierced, or how do you say it? Dañado.
It gets damaged.
Damaged. I can't even think about the word. It gets damaged, and you don't allow for healing.
Yeah.
And when God is there, He heals your heart. And He doesn't allow things to, He allows things for you to learn from them.
Yes.
So you can get stronger. And a lot of the times what people don't understand is that whenever people question God, or they think that, oh, God, they have hate towards God because things happen. But a lot of the times they don't understand that on the other side, God has a plan. And if you just get through it and you trust in God, and you have confidence in God, then He gets you to the other side where you do have a bigger blessing. It's just like you're dating and you're waiting for that moment to get married. But if you don't wait for the perfect moment that God has for you, then you can mess up a relationship like that. And you're just trying to rush things that you shouldn't be rushing. And when God has that perfect timing, things flow
perfectly.
Yeah, perfect, honestly. That was one of our biggest conflicts in dating for Gustavo and I, because I wanted to get married, but because he had generational curses of like people not wanting to get married, or I don't think anybody's married in his family, actually. Only us, and his parents just got married before us, like the month before us. But other than that, nobody else is married. And so we battled that for a long time. And then it took him talking to someone else, like a mentor, and actually in LA again. And he was like telling him, I don't know exactly what he told me. He didn't tell me, but he really just made him come to realization. And he was like, okay, well, you got to realize that there's always going to be someone that looks better, or that may seem better, or that may, have things that you want at that time. But if you make that decision, then you have to go through with it and stick with it to the end. And so that's where he made his decision. He was like, you know what? I can't stop thinking. I had to stop thinking like what ifs or what could be. He's like, I love this woman and I'm going to marry her. So we got married and everything just happened quickly. So I know that God's timing is perfect. So don't rush anything. That's where conflicts happen. The most is when you're trying to rush things, or there's misunderstandings, or you have things that want to happen, like you said, rush things, like impatient about things. And just take your time. Allow God
take
to
your time.
be there.
Protect one another. Always remember that you as a wife have to protect your husband, and your husband has to protect you. You don't correct in public. You don't shame your partner in public. You do that in private, because that can do a lot of damage as well.
For sure. Sometimes we can be a little harsh on how we play. And those playful moments, like we're playing, but people can take
take it differently. Yeah.
And I've noticed that with Casa de Paz. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so
no, there's some
sorry.
things that y'all do that me and Hugo look at each other and we laugh because there's things that we do too. And I'm like, is that what we look like to people? Oh my gosh. They're going to think we don't like each other. Oh my gosh.
And you know, when we go to Walmart, what we do, it's so funny to us, but it could look bad. And we kind of like stopped doing it. But at one point we were like, just embarrassing each other. Like, stop following. I'd be like, stop following me, you creep. And I'm over here with my kids. I was like, sir, stop following me.
I do that to Hugo. I will roll the window down. I'll be in the car. Sir, get away from my car. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
just embarrassing things like that. It's so funny.
My intrusive thoughts.
Yeah. And he would be like, honey, don't you need that hemorrhoid cream or something like that? And I was like,
I would die.
Yeah, but it's not on this aisle.
Oh my
They're just
Lord.
embarrassing things like that. But it does keep the relationship light.
Yeah.
But it could look bad.
Yeah. I know there's just one time I think I don't know what y'all did, and I looked at Hugo because I know it's something that we do too, and I was like, is that what we look like? Oh my gosh. No wonder people look at us funny. I'm like, okay.
But I think you create this, I feel like I don't care about what other people think about us because we know how we are, and how, like, truthfully how we are, and how we always respect each other, and we keep it light. We try to connect here and there.
I think the big word there is respect.
Yeah, respect. But
that's one thing that I do tell Hugo. I'm like, it is respect. It comes down to, that's why I always say, we correct in private. I mean, I know that we had one incident where, as you know, as everybody knows, my Spanish sometimes is not the best. I will mix words on accident. I don't mean to. It's just I don't practice it as much. I know it. I understand it. I can read it. Don't make me write it. But sometimes speaking it, I say things. And I remember one time he was sitting there making fun of me. And it was like, we were, with our peers and stuff. And it was not funny to me. In that moment, it made me really mad because I'm like, yeah, you made me feel dumb. And I told him, I said, I did not like that. I said, I'm like, you really did make me feel dumb. Like, I really did feel like a certain way about it. And he's like, I'm sorry. I could tell off your face once you made it that you really did not appreciate that. I'm like, no, because I was being serious in the moment and you thought it was funny and you thought it was going to be good to make fun of me. Like, I'm like, why? But situations like those, we've learned that, okay, yeah, you might say something, but I'm not going to correct you right then and there. If I do, it might be in a different manner because the way you approach it as well is very, huge. But things that are like, problems and stuff, we're like, okay, we'll fix this at home. Like, we'll talk about this at home.
It's like what the saying is, like, it's not what you say, it's about how you say things. And I think that's very important in any setting.
Yeah.
Any setting. Like, doesn't matter relationships, like you're in a classroom, like how you say things is, you can either break someone or make them. Like,
it's like children. If you ever watch, I mean, I know for me as a teacher, like, there'll be days where I can tell in the way that my tone is that my children react because they know my different tones. They know when I have a stern tone, it's because, okay, she's had enough of our mess and she's being for real. And they know when I'm being playful. But you never want your tone to ever make, someone feel like
under, like, less than.
Yeah, like you don't ever want to do that. And I've always I told Hugo one day, I said, I've honestly learned patience in the way that I speak towards people through kids, because they've honestly taught me that you can't just say something and expect me not to feel a certain way, because children wear their emotions on their sleeves. Like, they're like, if you make them feel sad, you'll see that whole body shut down, and it's like, oh, like, I shouldn't have said it that way, my wording should have been better. But like I said, conflicts are everywhere, no matter where you go.
I tell my kids, I'm like, like, don't be touching that, and they like, They're like, they sit up really straight and they
Yes.
look at me and they're so, you know, they've been doing that since they were like 5 months and since they were crawling like 6 months. So when they touch something that I don't like them touching, or like they play with the cables and that's very dangerous, and I'll be like, don't touch that. And they sit up straight, they look at me, and then they'll try to go back to it.
I love
And-
that. I'm like, I just said no. Like, really?
But then I like kind of steer them away from it,
Yeah.
and then they're like, okay. But I think it's important to really know how to manage
Yeah.
those situations and not act out of anger.
But we have come to the end of our episode, and this was Hard Talks, Strong Love, Conflicts and Resolutions in Marriage. And thank you for joining us here on
Sip and Chat. Until next time, like, share, subscribe, comment. We feel good when you guys comment and
Yes.
like and share. Thank you for supporting us. For all our supporters, thank you so much that you guys are here watching us every week. So
Yeah. Choose
we
love.
appreciate it.
Be nice.